Hello. I want to make a video for the Republicans again. I saw a very interesting documentary film last night about climate change and the sea level rising and flooding New York eventually in time, in the next 50 to 100 years. And there's an architect from Holland who is already building floating houses, floating structures, buildings, not just smaller structures, not just residential homes, but entire large multi-story building structures, and even cities like that are floating on a platform of it's a form of a, I think it's recycled styrofoam cement type. There's another architect who builds with this. They're called Sanders Architects, and I already contacted them in the past to find out what they charge, and it's actually a very reasonably priced. Those are very eco-friendly products, recycled to the most part, or even 100%. And so anyone who is about to build a house, I recommend Sanders Architects. It's a woman and a man. They're married and they're both architects, and they are doing eco-friendly structures out of this recycled composite material. And I think the architect in Holland, I think what he works with is even lighter weight, and it is also extremely sturdy. The other one is really sturdy too, sturdier than regular cement actually, and lighter weight, and very insulating. So it's excellent material to work with and to build homes that are for like very cold climates, but also for hot climates. So it works like an ice chest, kind of. It insulates any kind of weather, any kind of extreme weather. And it's extremely sturdy for earthquakes and storms and such. So, and all of this is going to be coming, whether people ignore it or not. The storms are already happening, and anyone who wants to deny it, so their roofs will blow off. Okay, that's all there is to it. And so I really was fascinated with those buildings by the architect from Holland, who has really great plans to restructure entire New York. And he's still young, so he's probably gonna see all of this happen during his lifetime and be able to make some really amazing things happening there. And of course, there are already rational people in New York who are looking into this, always planning for the future, like knowing what's gonna happen. And so to secure their own businesses and their own opportunities that will be arising from this. So this is absolutely fascinating. These entire city blocks on water, floating on water all around that peninsula in New York. And so it's just gonna all be shifted onto the water eventually, because New York is gonna look like Venice, Italy at some point, where the water level is like 50 feet high and flooding the first couple of floors of the high-rise buildings, and people can just canoe through those alleyways and streets. And that's going to be very interesting. In particular, it's going to be a little bit risky, all of this, because the water will cause damage in time, and it will corrode the steel and the cement. And if it does it long enough, the buildings will fall over because the bacteria and the oxidization will eat its way through the structure on the bottom and then loosen this all up, and eventually it will not be able to hold this extreme top heavy structure on the top, and it will fall over, and it's going to be very, very risky. And it's not very cool because birds are going to be nesting in those structures, and then they will crumple, and I don't know if the birds will make it out there in time, particularly if they have nests. That's not very nice. But yeah, this is all the development that will happen in the future. But these floating cities, that is really something else. I mean, they will be resting on, I don't know, like 10 feet high, 10 feet thick bases, floating bases that won't even be built like a boat. It will be totally straight surface, kind of more like one of those Air Force floating, I don't know what's that's called, like very long stretches of cement that are also floating on the water for the Air Force or US military, where they can take off with an airplane anywhere on the ocean. So something like that in that matter, like a straight surface, very thick, very buoyant, and if earthquakes happen, it will just float. It will go with it. It will flow with it. And that's kind of like also very metaphorical for life itself. Like, we want to build things that are flowing with the events, that are not rigid and resistant, standing against it. And very symbolic also for these entire 60 whopping % of the US who don't believe that global warming is caused by pollution. So people, man, straighten up, man. This is not very cool. Okay? And my video is only directed to those 60% that deny that global warming is caused by CO2 emission into the atmosphere. The other people, they already know. They're already like just shaking their heads in disbelief over this denial. How is this possible? People will ask. How can something like this happen? And here comes my psychological interest, me, the hobby psychologist, who sits there and is just totally mind-boggled over this, and just cannot wrap my head around this fact that people are denying this. And so what I want to say to those Republicans, or maybe some of them are even Democrats, obviously, I told my husband it's always Republicans. He said, well, they're all Republicans, but then some of the Democrats are even in denial of that. We even met some. And so what is the common denominator? It's religion, obviously. So, but then again, if we go 100 years back in time and I would go to the street and I would ask any random Christian, most of them were Christian at that time, they were just starting to flock away from that religion in Europe. But if you, even 100 years ago, even at that time where Darwin wrote his first book and people started to become more rational and more scientifically oriented in Europe. So maybe 30% of them were already into science and into rationality. But even then, if you talk to a regular Christian, or let's say we go back 300 years in time, where there were no rational thinkers. There was nobody who believed in evolution because that idea had not even been introduced. So they had no idea at all about how the world worked and where they were coming from and all of this. So let's say we go back 300 years in time, go back to Europe, the time of Inquisition, Dark Ages, where they were burning witches and all of this horrible. They were torturing people and all of this. So if you talk to a regular person on the street, a regular Christian, and you would say to them, you'd explain to them this thing out of the future. We'll say, I'm from the future and I want to ask you something. Let me interview you. How do you feel about this? There's pollution in the future and terrible CO2 pollution caused by the oil industry. They have been digging wells and they were drilling up raw oil that is supposed to stay under the Earth's surface, never to come up. That's not intended to come up. And it's polluting, and they're making things out of this, and it is incredible pollution that is happening. How do you feel about this? Do you think that is good? Do you think that would you like to live at that time, at that era? And they will say, oh no, oh gosh, no, I'd rather stay here in this time. This is scary. I don't want pollution. I don't want them to do this. And matter of fact, they will actually equate the pollution with devil. So they will equate ExxonMobil with the devil. Today, exactly reversed. Why is this? Okay, so I'm raising this question for you, so you will start raising this question. You, the Republicans, okay. Raise this question in your head. Don't even need to talk to anyone about it, because I know that is a taboo subject, but do it for yourself at home. Think about this, just for once, just one time, okay? Why is this that the Christians today are in denial of this and are on the side of ExxonMobil and the oil industry? Think about this. Why is this? Why do they believe all the slander that the corporate industry, the ones in charge, together with the think tank and with their market psychologists? What's going on here? Why are they trying to get into your head? Okay. So think about all of this. Don't just accept this as like, oh, this is now like part of that entire Christian religion. Jesus, they're all on the side of the oil industry. Wait a minute. No. If Jesus was here today, he would be a hippie. He would say, crazy what you guys are doing. You're destroying this planet. Don't do this, okay? Don't destroy this planet. don't cause such pollution. Okay? Think about this, what they're doing. That's what he would say. And anybody 300 years back in time, they would recognize this because they would have not, they were not brainwashed by the market psychologist from ExxonMobil. Okay, so they were still like an outsider of this. So they still had enough space, and they had to look at the situation and say, no, I don't want this planet to be polluted. That's crazy. They all call it the devil. Today it's reversed. They're calling an environmentalist the devil. Okay? So why is this? You need to ask the question, man. You not just take everything and accept everything the way it's presented to you by your peer pressure, by your society that you hang out with, by the drinking buddies, your Budweiser, corporate in bed market psychologists with the fat beer belly. Don't accept everything they say to you. And if they call you a fag, then show them the finger and walk off. Just go home, hang out with someone else. Don't continue this. Don't perpetuate the cycle. Just don't do it. You've been brainwashed. They got you by the balls. Okay? They got you peer pressure to the very bottom. They got their foot on you, man. Yeah? Wake up, and woman. Okay? Wake up. Think. Think a little bit. Women and men, think. Use your brain. Okay? Don't let someone else who is a complete fuck turd think for you. Think for yourselves. And don't go by peer pressure. Don't allow this planet to go down the drain just so that your peers will respect you and keep you in their circles. Why don't you just walk out and say, I don't want my planet. This is my planet. I don't want my planet to go down the drain. Okay? I want to live. I want to breathe oxygen. I want my pets and my children to be happy. I want the birds to sing. I want my trees to be green. Okay? I don't want bark beetle infestations in the forests because the climate has risen up. Okay? All this immune dysfunction now in life around us, all caused by this, is major domino effect. Why give in to this? Why cater to these stinking wealthy rich oil corporations that got you little barbecue worker, blue collar worker by the balls like a slave? Wake up. Don't enslave yourself to this. Okay? Read books and stop listening to this Christian coalition with the Republican and the oil industry. Stop that. Don't listen to this anymore. If you want to believe in Jesus, that's fine, but don't buy the entire enchilada that comes with it, that had been hijacked by the oil industry. They're using this Christian vehicle so that you will vote and do what they want. Don't play that game, okay? Peace out.